What's up, everyone? It's your boy Terry. Today we're gonna do something special. You know, I got my 2015 ZL1 in the garage. Why? This car came with what's known as magnetic suspension ride. And it's great when it works, but when it doesn't work, not so much. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna change this to a coilover setup. Now, we're only gonna do the rear, but eventually we'll get to the front. Now, I love this car. I love the way it handles. I love the way it drives. I just love the car. Like I said, that magnetic ride suspension, when it works, it's awesome. But when it doesn't work, you gotta change it. And of course, to buy a magnetic shock, you'll buck up some money. So that's why we chose to go the coilover route, because you get the height adjustability, and plus you also get dampening settings, which are really cool. Now in the coilover world, you have tons to choose from, but my go-to coilover setup is always QA1, because quality, affordability, it's number one with them. And that's what QA1 stands for. Quality, affordability, number one. So I got the car, I got the kit, and it all starts with removing that rear wheel. Let's get going. Come in, let me show you something. See this? Oil coming from the shock. It's a pretty good sign that this is a shot shock. Get it? Shot shock. The shock is shot. You know, because you gotta realize the shock is a wearing part, and this is 2015. So, would I have liked and gotten more miles out of these shocks? Yeah, but it is what it is, and it gives me a chance to upgrade to the coilovers. And you know, I know what some of you guys are thinking. You're like, QA1, don't they make coilovers for old school cars? I never knew that they made them for the modern Camaro. Oh yeah, they make it for the 2015 body style Camaro. They make it for just about any car that's out there on the road. You need to check out their website. And here they are. And here's my QA1 shock for my 2015 ZL1. It comes with the shock. You know, you gotta read the instructions, with all the hardware that you're gonna need to install this. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. Woo! Now to change the shock or either convert it to a coilover, this whole assembly is gonna have to come out. And what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to take this out, loosen the end link out for the sway bar. And there's two big bolts, the shock bolt right there, the bottom shock bolt. There's a bolt right there that has to come out, because you want to bring this low control arm down. And while you're at it, you see that little, let's see if I get my hand back there, that little piece right there. You're just gonna have to snap that off at the bottom, because that's gonna keep the control arm from going down further, which you're gonna need. All right, then you got four 15 millimeter bolts right there. Then you're able to drop this low control arm down and finagle its way out. But it all starts with a mark. We're gonna mark this right here, and I'll explain to you why a little later. Now, before you pull this whole unit out, you have to disconnect the connector for the magnetic ride control. And that's simple, just grab a hold and pull back like that. Now this whole unit's ready to come out. All right, I was able to get the shock out. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, like I said, this shock is shot. Anytime you see a lot of oil, you see this, a lot of grease, a lot of oil here, that's the inside of the shock breaking loose. So, you know, yeah, we got to replace this. I'm going to go with a coilover. Now, the cool thing about the QA1 setup that I'm going with, they allow you to use your stock spring. So we're going to have to remove the spring and, you know, install it on the QA1 shock, and they give you all the hardware to do so. And while I'm doing it, I'm also replacing the shock mount, because, you know, you're here, so you're at this point, you're in this deep, so you might as well replace everything you can replace. So let's get going. Let's set this shock up. What we're gonna do is we're gonna remove this shock, use the spring, and we also went and changed a shock mount. And remember when I marked this shock mount when it was in the car? I wanna mark it on the new one, because it gets confusing when you start turning the thing around, when you start installing it. It gets a little confusing, so you wanna make sure, I like to mark it so I know where my front point is. And it's a little fail-safe, which is kind of cool, because like I said, we're in here this far, so we might as well go all in. We also got some anti-seize And of course, the main event, the QA1 shock. And we got just about everything we need here to convert this to a coilover to go into that car. Let's begin. Point of reference. We're about to put a little ring on the shock, which will allow you to turn and raise or either lower the car. But the thing is that you can get the job done with this, but QA1 makes, I think this is pretty slick, a ring which you can sandwich and it has like needle bearings. And this will allow you to not have to muscle getting the car up or either lowering it. So invest in these. I'm telling you, it's a lifesaver, because if you don't have them, you will have a Jonah of a time raising and lifting your car with the coilovers. And make sure you put anti-seize between each ring. Let's finish. The assembly is now assembled. Here's a quick tip, check this out. Don't have this bottomed out, because you're gonna have to install this into the lower control arm in the Camaro in the back. So before you install it, make sure you raise it up. And you might as well do it now while it's on the bench. And if you're not sure, use the old stock as a point of reference. You see where the base lands? That's where pretty much your starting point should be. So looking like I'm pretty good at this point. Now, along with the kit, QA1 gives you all the hardware you're gonna need. So let's start with this piece, okay? You see how there's a little step in there? That faces on the inside of the shock, and you have a second one, all right? So you see it right there? It's just like that, all right? Now what will happen is, once you put this in the control arm, you put it in the control arm like this, and then you got these washer type things, which has like a little lip. You see that? Okay, a little rise right in the center. This is gonna go on the outside of the control arm. So basically this is what's gonna happen. Let's put this back together. So the step is on the inside, like that. Control arm, put this in the control arm, the lower control arm. And you got two, which goes on the outside of the lower control arm, and then you bolt it down. All right, we got the assembly tweaked and ready to go in. Hopefully it's a lot easier going in than it was to take out. Let's see. Finally, as you can see, we got the car back together. We got it all back together. We got all the pieces where they belong, the bolts in. It's loosely in, so before you start tightening up, you want to have the weight on the car. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the jack, lift it up a little bit, and then at that point, I'm going to tighten up everything. And then once everything's tightened up, the wheels on, then we're going to go and set the ride height and take it from there. Now, what I did was with the valving, I put it at a 6 at this point. We're gonna ride around with it and see how it feels. And at that point, then if you have to make some type of adjustments, we can. But right now, what we gotta do is we gotta tighten all this up. Oh man, what a difference this makes. Look at that. Looks great. And I got the AFE module, so I won't get a check engine light, or either my car will, at a certain mile an hour, it'll stop going faster. So make sure when you do coilovers, you get one of these AFE And at this point, all it's left to do is set the ride height and take it for a spin. Let's do this. So it's out with the old, in with the QA1. Looks great. All right, so when I first took the car out, the back was a little soft. So what I did was I changed it from 6 to 10. All right, and it felt a lot better. So gave me that performance feel, gave me a little bit more of a performance feel, but yet comfortable enough to go around town because, you know, we got a lot of bumps on these roads. So, you know, so what we're gonna do now is the car sat for a couple of days and now it's probably pretty much settled. So we're gonna go for a spin. We're gonna make sure that the ride height is right. And if we have to do any more adjustments, we take care of it. I wanted a nice drivable around town height and comfort level as far as, because this is a ZL1, so you're only gonna get so much comfort out of it, but still you can get comfort out of it. So let's go for a little spin and see how the settings feel now. Feels tight. You know, I'm glad I got rid of those Magna Ride suspension shocks because they were, because you saw them, they were in need to be changed. But like anything else, you really don't notice it until you get up under the car and you say, wait a second, hold on, these shocks are leaking. Or when it got to the point where it was with my car, it was just bouncing all over in the back. You hit a bump, man, that thing was like bouncing like a Whammo Super Ball. A Whammo Super Ball is a ball that used to be out back in the day from Whammo. Whammo used to make frisbees and stuff like that. So for some young kids out there probably don't know what a Whammo Super Ball is. It's basically this big super ball. It's a big rubber ball that when you bounce it, you only get one shot. You bounce it and it goes off into the forest or something like that. It was a great toy, but you know, I had a Whammo Super Ball for about five minutes. Bounced it real hard and it just took off, and so it was great fun for that 5 minutes, but that's what a Whammo Super Ball is. So yeah, so the back end was bouncing around like a Whammo Super Ball, and so I'm glad I got rid of the Magna Ride. And the reason I didn't go with Magna Ride again is because one, they're hard to get, and two, they cost a small fortune. So QA1 is a very reasonable, very great option, you know, as far as reasonably priced. And I always wanted to go coilovers on this car. Whenever you get rid of Magna Ride suspension, you gotta call a company like AFE. They make a module because the Magna Ride suspension has a connector. We're gonna go on the highway and we'll get this thing about 80 miles an hour. Yeah, it has a connector to the Magna Ride that triggers it, so it will engage it. But when you don't have that, if you just put a regular set of shocks in, what will happen is, from what I heard, you would get a code or your car will go into limp mode and it won't go over, what, 80 miles an hour. Now, right about now, I'm at 80 and I'm at like 85. I don't see a code, so that's a good thing. So the AFE module is doing its thing. And God, this car is such a great car to drive, man. And it's kind of cool because the AFE, you know, this will answer the question if you have to do all four. No, you don't have to do all four. This is living proof right now because I got still the Magna Ride in the front, shocks hooked up, or should I say struts hooked up, and I'm doing QA1 in the back. Eventually when these blow, I will definitely go with QA1 because that's my go-to coilover company now. And so to answer the question, which I'm sure I'll get, do I have to do all four? No, you don't. You should do the rear or either the front. You shouldn't do like the right side and then don't do the left. No. If you have a chance to get in the ZL1, get one, especially now that they stopped making them, I think. And are they gonna just do away altogether with the Camaro? So if you got an SS, you might want to hold on to it. If you got a ZL1, you definitely want to hold on to it. But I was able to upgrade my SS, you know, to a ZL1 3 years ago. So I had this for about 3 years, and loving every minute of it. I've been on the ZL1 ever since I first saw one. When I was even at the dealership picking up my SS,
he had a whole lot full of Z01s, and I was like, man, I want one of those. But I just couldn't justify out the door. I think it was like $80,000 out the door for this particular car. So I don't believe in taking a big hit like that. I let someone else take the hit, and then when they get tired of the car, I come in there with a fraction. Now I'm hitting this turn at about 65 miles an hour, and it is just so smooth, and it is holding it. So upgrading, or should I say changing that dampening setting from 6 to 10 helped out a lot. Now if I was autocrossing, I probably would change it to about maybe 12. We're gonna head on back to the garage shop. The car's a lot comfortable. You can feel the difference, 100%. The coilovers in this car feel great. Gives a whole different ride experience, a beautiful ride experience, an adjustable ride experience, new to this car. So I'm really enjoying it. And the Z01, look out for it. This is the first video I did with my Z01, but it ain't gonna be the last. We're gonna do some more upgrades to this car. We want it to sound a little bit better. So I got some stuff in mind. Yeah, so stay tuned for this build. I guess we're gonna call this the ZL1 project. I don't know. But we're not gonna go nuts because, again, out the box, right from the rip, the car is just awesome. So gonna leave it alone, but not leave it alone. But that's another time, another story. So remember, if you like what you're seeing here, if you're liking these videos, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, TerryLSX. And make sure when you do hit that subscribe, you hit the thumbs up, and you also hit the likes, because that enables us to do more fun stuff like this, all right? But as always, I wanna thank you guys for joining me. This has been fun. So next time we see each other, I'll catch you guys real soon. And remember, always, be easy, take care.